When people tell you that you hurt them, you don't have the right to say that you didn't.
Don't let people weaponize your empathy against you.
People who choose to not heal their wounds will put the responsibility on you to cater to them so that they don't have to.
The temptation is to dim yourself down in order to feel accepted.
Yeah.
When really you should never feel ashamed about your success, your wins, and your victories.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of In the Clear, where our goal is to give you clarity on all aspects of your life using a balanced approach with logic and emotion. Today's episode is about getting clear on how important it is to operate in a way that says, not everyone has to be okay with me for me to be okay with myself. I remember saying this to you one time on the phone. I told you I was vacuuming and this thought and overwhelming feeling just rushed through my body and said, I'm okay with myself without everyone else around me being okay with me. I think this episode is really for the people pleasers out there or those who are so bound to the opinions of others in their lives about them. It's like there's an audience sitting in your head that's judging every move you make, saying, wait a minute, if you do this way, this person might not be pleased with you, and this person might not be proud of you, and this person might be disappointed in you. And so you just stop. But have you asked yourself if you are part of that audience? Have you asked yourself if you are the one who makes the ultimate decision? Probably not. So I think it adds so much to a person's life and their own self-leadership to say, I don't need every person out there to be okay with me for me to be okay with myself. Why would I place that condition on myself? It's exhausting because there's always going to be someone out there who's not going to be okay with you because they have their own beliefs, they have their own ways of thinking, they have their own preconceptions of how you should be for you to be accepted by them. So are they leading you or are you leading yourself? What are your thoughts?
I love the initial sentence that you said. Not everyone has to be okay with me for me to be okay with myself. It's so powerful. And I think that the folks that suffer from what I call the OPO syndrome, other people's opinion.
OPO syndrome, other people's opinions.
Yeah. So when you practice that mindset of caring so much about other people's opinion, you can't, like we talked in previous episodes, live unconditionally. By default, your condition is for people to accept you, to validate you, or to approve of you. And I lived that way in the past, and I felt trapped. So if there's a way for us to discuss different techniques, practical ways to get out of that trap, the OPO syndrome, I think it could benefit our listeners and our viewers.
Do you have OPO syndrome? Reflect on that. And if your answer is yes, then you have to keep listening. One time, my friend Jeanette, who's an incredible person, she's really been there for me during just the toughest times of my life. I was telling her, like, I can't believe this person said this about me, and I can't believe she did that, and I can't believe it was during a really rough period of time in my life. And I was just panicking over everyone's opinions of me when I knew those opinions were not based in any truth. They were just opinions, but I was just so hurt by that. So she said to me something like, well, tell them to no longer give you the check that they're paying you at the end of every month. And I looked at her like, what are you saying? She's like, are they paying for you to live the life that you live? Are they adding any value to your life? If they are, tell them to take it away. But they're not. The opinion that they're giving you is just empty. If someone's opinion of you is positive and it doesn't change your life because it's just an opinion, it doesn't add or take away anything from your life, then also their negative opinion shouldn't impact your life. If you live in a way where you are so clear on who you are, then the positivity or negativity both don't control you. We focus so much on the negative because we are in this constant battle to prove ourselves and to prove that if I can get everybody to be pleased with me, then that means that I can be pleased with myself. But that's not true. You can be pleased with yourself without everyone around you being pleased with you. And actually, if everyone around you is pleased with you, you're doing something wrong. Because
well, you're possibly a
hypocrite.
People pleaser. My way of saying it was softer, but if you want to say hypocrite.
You could be. I mean, I don't think people pleasers are hypocrites, but I think if everyone around you is pleased with you and all of these people have differing beliefs and opinions and ways of living and different, cultures and religions that they follow, but you please all of them.
You have to be a people pleaser.
There's a part of you that, hides certain parts of yourself with some of them, pretends to be someone you're not with some of them. So let's be clear, being a people pleaser doesn't mean, it's not synonymous with being a hypocrite. But if you're looking at it from a logical standpoint, sometimes you might tell yourself, wow, I'm being a hypocrite because I just projected myself in a way that doesn't really reflect me. Or I just did something that is so self-betraying. I would never tell someone I love to behave that way, but I just did that. So reflect on the way that you are going about pleasing others and reflect on why it is that you feel that being on someone's bad side or not being on someone's good side, why is that such a big no-no? Why is it a big red line that you don't want to cross? I used to feel anytime that I just sensed that someone wasn't pleased with me, it was like I wanted to figure out what I could do so that they could be pleased with me, because I took on the responsibility of them having a good opinion of me. I took on the responsibility of them feeling good about themselves. So if I said something that maybe put them in a position to feel badly about themselves, let's say, there are times when I talk about my accomplishments that people around me feel very insecure. And I can feel it immediately. And I'm like, oh my God, I shouldn't have said that, because now I'm making them feel like they're not as accomplished, or I'm making them feel like they need to be doing so much more with their lives. And then logic kicks in and I'm like, hold on, was that my intention? No. My intention wasn't to make them feel badly about themselves. I was just talking about an accomplishment of mine that is true to me, that is part of my journey. I didn't intend to make them feel insecure. If that was my intention, I wouldn't have done it in the first place. That's not who I am as a person. But I took, because I'm an empath, I can immediately sense a shift in someone's energy. I can immediately sense when the way they look at me changes. I can immediately sense that they're feeling badly about themselves. So I took all of that as a sign that I needed to fix something that I didn't break in the first place. I'm not that person anymore. So one strategy that I would give any of our listeners is ask yourself what your intention was behind anything that you said or did. Was it really to make that person feel a certain way or form a certain opinion of you? Or were you just being true to yourself? Were you just expressing yourself freely and not really intending to hurt them in any way? Go back to your intention, not to the way that they made you believe you made them feel. I have to be careful when I say this, because we always say when someone tells you that you hurt them, you don't have the right to say that you didn't. When someone comes to you and says that comment that you made when you were talking about your accomplishments, it just made me feel like you were indirectly telling me that I'm not as accomplished as you, or it made me feel like you were trying to say that you were better than me. So the way that I would respond in a situation like that is, again, take some time to reflect back on your intention. Was my intention to make them feel less of themselves or less accomplished? The answer is no. That's the truth. If they took the truth of what you said and made it all about them, that is something that they've chosen to do. So you can say something like, that really wasn't my intention. I was just talking about something that is part of my life. I'm sharing it with you. I know you care about me. I didn't think that it would make you feel less or that you need to accomplish more. I don't think that you need to accomplish more unless you want to. I don't think that you need to do more work that would bring you to where I am in my life. I think I'm on my path. You are on yours. I respect and love where you are, and I respect and love you as you are, whether you're my friend or colleague or partner or whatever. And I hope that you feel the same way about me. So when I talk about my accomplishments, I'm not trying to bring you down. I'm sharing this with you because we're on the same team. So that's one of the strategies I would use to combat a time when those around you might make you feel like you just being yourself is a threat to them or is an attack on them. So again, make sure that you speak up for yourself and you don't immediately fall into the I'm so sorry and I shouldn't have spoken that way. Well, then really you're apologizing for being yourself. You're apologizing for your accomplishments. You're apologizing for the drive that you had to get you to this place. Don't do that. You are okay with yourself without everyone around you being okay with you, especially those who are closest to you. They should be the ones who never make you feel like you talking about yourself in a good way, in a celebratory way, in a I'm so proud of myself kind of way. They should never make you feel like that is too much. They should be the people that you go to with your great news. And even if they're having a bad day, they can tell you, I'm so happy for you. I'm so proud of you. They don't put themselves and the way that they're feeling as a competition to the way that you are feeling. So that if you're feeling great and they're not, they're just like, well, are you trying to make me feel worse by talking about yourself? Like, that's not good. So stop backtracking on the growth that you're going through or pretending like all the great things that are going on in your life are not so great just so that you could make everyone around you okay with you. You know, I feel like this is very not talked about.
I agree.
Yeah.
The temptation is to dim yourself down in order to feel accepted.
Yeah.
When really you should never feel ashamed about your success, your wins, and your victories. If you feel you have to, maybe you're not with the right people.
Yeah.
But like you say, especially the closest ones to you, they absolutely should rejoice with you without jealousy, without feeling bad, just to acknowledge your success and feel happy with you as well.
Yes. And none of us are perfect.
No.
You know, if someone that surrounds you comes up to you and they recognize that they were feeling jealous when you were sharing great news with them and they open up to you about it, you can have that compassion for them and say, I get it. You know, I felt that way in the past and I don't want you to feel jealous of this part of my life. If you want me to support you in getting something that you want in your life or in accomplishing something or succeeding in a certain way, I'm there for you. I would love to see you flourish in your own life. You know, it's not a bad thing to open up to the people around you about maybe the negative things that you feel. Like, I know jealousy is considered negative, but sometimes maybe we shouldn't label it. Maybe jealousy is just a sign that there is something that we want that we don't have yet, that someone that we care about has something that we would like to have, and maybe that pushes us and inspires us to achieve that ourselves. So to someone who is in a position where they feel like they have to make the choice to dim themselves, to dim their light, to stop working so hard so that those around them could be pleased with them, you're doing yourself a great disservice. You're doing your own path, like you're putting a huge barrier on that path. Or it's like being on the highway and there's 3 or 4 lanes open and you tell yourself, I am constricting myself to one lane, and if there's a slow car in front of me, I don't care. I'm just going to stay there. I'm not going to, drive past that, get there faster, or get there on time. It's like you are binding yourself on your own because that's going to make someone else drive at the same speed as you. So I hope that you take that as a sign to go at your own speed. Look at the strengths that you have. Look at all the propellers that really are your future self telling you, like, I can't wait until you're here. Look at everything that's waiting for you. Look at all the great things that you can do. Just follow that, and by leading yourself, really, and not allowing those who are trying to hold you back so that they could feel better about themselves to hold you back. So going back to when I told you I was vacuuming, and this feeling of I can be okay with myself without everyone around me being okay with me.
That's what I call a good cleaning session.
Right? It was good. But it was just, because I always tell people healing isn't one of those things where like it's like a scene in a movie where you're like, you get it, like the music is uplifting, you get that epiphany, you're like, I'm there, I know I'm healed. Like I got that moment while I was vacuuming.
You were cleansing while you were cleaning.
Yeah, I was cleansing while I was cleaning. So you've healed certain beliefs or certain patterns. You just know. It comes at the most unexpected or weird time, and you just get that sense of peace. So when that feeling visited me, I was at a point where any decision I made in my life, I thought, what would my mom think? What would my dad think? What would my brothers think? What would my friends think? What would my sisters think? What would the community think? It was like I said, it was like an audience sitting in my head, and they're all like raising a sign that says, I agree with this decision, or I disagree with this decision. It was like they were the jury that was giving me the verdict on whatever decision I was making.
It's a good visual.
And it's like, where am I in all of this? It's like I'm the defendant, like I'm defending myself. I'm being sued, and I'm waiting for these people to say
the judgment. And
that's so wrong, because at the end of the day, I need to be the judge. I need to be the one who says, this decision is right for you. This decision is not right for you. And if it's not right for you, it's not the end of the world. I saw this TikTok, this just crossed my mind, that asks, what generational trauma are you healing now? And this woman was talking about how if her son comes up to her and says, Mommy, I forgot to take the chicken out of the fridge this morning. You asked me to take it out. The mom says, I just say, okay, that's okay. And that healed something inside of me, because the moment I heard her say, when my son says, Mommy, I forgot to take the chicken out of the fridge, I'm like, oh my God, my body went tense. Like, oh my God, that you would get in so much trouble. Yeah. And she's like, I say, it's okay. Or if my son says, Mommy, I'm not feeling good, I don't want to go to school today. Again, I would get tense. Like, that's not allowed. You don't have permission to do that. It's like all the things and all the conditioning that used to make me believe that if I made a mistake, that was the end of the world. Something was wrong with me. I started healing that by saying, okay, like, you forgot something. It's not the end of the world. You unintentionally said something about someone. This reminds me of another story that I'm going to tell you. But you can undo that conditioning now. So when I was 7 years old, there was a guy in our village that his nickname meant, like, it at the beginning of it in Arabic, it was like fat, and it was his name. And I didn't know that that's what it meant because I was a child. That's what they called that guy. So one time I called him that because everybody around me did. And then he looked at me and was like, I'm going to tell your dad. Like, I can't believe you called me this. I didn't know that everyone called him that behind his back.
Oh.
I didn't know that. I was a child. So I went home and I hid under the covers for hours, like just waiting for my dad to come and say something. Like, how could you do that? I felt like I was in so much trouble, even though I didn't intend to hurt this guy's feelings. I didn't know it was wrong. I didn't know what the meaning was. I just used the name that everybody called him, and I was a child. But I remember that fear I felt for so long, for so many hours, just hiding under the covers. And then finally when, you know, someone found me there and I said what happened, said like, I didn't mean it and whatever. And I'm like shaking, so scared. My dad was just like, it's okay, just don't do it again. But I had so much internalized fear because I was conditioned to be that little good girl that never hurt anyone's feelings, that never made mistakes, that never stayed outside past a certain hour, that never raised her voice, that never swore, that never hung out with the bad kids, never said anything insulting, never had any bad behaviors. That's what I was conditioned to be. So like that fear was like a solid internal mechanism that guided me. If my dad's not okay with me and that man is not okay with me, and in a way, I called him that name because I heard everyone around me call him that. So in a way, I also wanted them to be okay with me because I'm like, this is okay. This is what they're all doing. So I'm going to be like them. So I think it's important to reflect on all that conditioning that led you to believe that everyone needs to be okay with you for you to be okay with yourself. When you know you made a mistake, when you know that it wasn't your intention to hurt someone or to disappoint someone or to affect them in any way, you don't need their validation that they believe your intentions for you to believe your intentions. You can be self-sustaining in that way and say, I know what my intention was. I know who I am. I know I didn't mean to have this kind of effect on you. And that's it. Like, otherwise you're going to go back on something that is true to you. And you don't want to do that. That's self-betraying. Yeah.
I think that a belief that people might have with regards to people pleasing is that it'll help them get ahead faster. For example, we both speak on stages on the corporate circuit to executives, to employees, and I hear situations sometimes of workers, employees, or managers that go out of their way to make sure that they please their bosses, thinking it'll help them get a promotion faster or not lose their job. So out of fear, they go out of their way to be people pleasers, thinking that it's the good thing. My wife and I own a company. We have employees. And if there's one thing I know for sure, having yes men and yes ladies and people that are always pleasing you is not a good thing. As a leader, you want people that are authentic and tell you things as they are. They tell you what they see. They don't just want to please you. And so I think that something to take away for our viewers and listeners is that it's the opposite when we think about work. As an employer, I am really excited when I hear or see someone on my team challenging me sometimes at the risk of possibly, maybe they could lose their job. But to me, I know I can count on the authenticity of that person. And because of that, for sure, they will not lose their jobs. You see, so how sometimes we have it reversed. We think that by people pleasing at work, we're going to go up that corporate ladder, when in reality, the leader, the chief, or the boss is thinking, what I really need is not someone to please me, but someone to say it as it is. Tell me the truth. Tell me the good news. Also, make sure you tell me the bad news. Then I know I can count on you. People pleasing will not get you places faster.
No.
And so that's a belief that some people have. I also think that it's important to mention that suffering from the OPO syndrome, other people's opinion, is okay. There's nothing wrong with that. I suffered from that for years and years. I was a master at people pleasing because I wanted to feel accepted and validated and loved. So I was willing to do whatever it took and be whoever I had to be in order to be accepted. At school, high school, there were street gangs. I was part of one. I needed to belong. Belonging is normal. So it doesn't matter if you're at school, if you're at work, if you're with your family, if you're with friends, if you're in your village where you grew up in Lebanon, or here in Canada or in the US. Belonging is normal. People pleasing is normal. But at some point, it's okay to realize, hey, you know what? I'll do what I need to do to help other folks around me be happy, but not at the cost of me being unhappy. I count too. I matter too. And as soon as we start placing ourselves at least as high as the other folks around us, things start to change.
Yes. And that's why I was saying reflect on your intention. So, for example, if I do something for someone that I care about, I go out of my way, I sacrifice a little bit of my time, I choose to sacrifice a little bit of my time to do something that I know will make them happy and feel cared for. That could be people pleasing, and it could be me being kind and loving unconditionally without expectation toward the person that I love and care about. But if my intention out of doing this nice, kind, loving thing is to get that person's approval or get them to love me back or love me more or see me as a better or good person, that's under people pleasing. That is my intention. But the same action could be coupled with a different intention, which is I am expressing my love. I'm expressing my care. So go back to your intention. When you are in a group setting at work, for example, are you giving an opinion that aligns with what your boss or manager said because you want them to see you as a good employee? Or are you saying it because you're genuinely trying to add feedback to the conversation? Both the same action, but what's the intention? Because one of them could lead to disappointment, the people-pleasing one, if it backfires and you don't get that, acceptance that you are looking for. And the other one has no expectations. You are just giving feedback and you really believe what you're saying. It has no end goal of getting their acceptance or approval. So it all goes back to the intention. Ask yourself, what's my intention of doing this? If you feel like it's people pleasing, you're aware of that, then either reset your intention or don't do the action altogether. Ask yourself, what can I do that actually comes from a place of me being true to myself and saying, if they don't accept me with me being true to myself and the opinion I'm giving them, the words I'm saying, the things I'm doing, then that's not true acceptance. I'm not going to change what I do or say so that they could accept who I'm pretending to be. So go back to your intention and repeat to yourself, I don't need everyone to be okay with me for me to be okay with myself. Absolutely. As long as this self I'm talking about is truly me. And it makes me feel like I'm living an authentic life, or I'm being authentic at my workplace, as in I am saying my true opinions. I am expressing certain concerns that I actually have. Are you doing that, or are you making things up so that you could get the acceptance of those around you? So always reflect on the intention. I think that's a huge thing, like strategy on this topic.
To stop being a shapeshifter.
Yeah, stop being
stop
being a chameleon.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And there's a sentence you said before, which I thought, wow, you will need to repeat it, because people at home, you can tweet it, you can X it, you can thread it, you can Facebook it, you can TikTok it. This is a good one. You said something about when you hurt someone, you don't have the right to say or think
Yes.
you didn't hurt them. Can you please repeat that?
Yes. When someone tells you that you hurt them, you don't have the right to say that you didn't.
Wow.
Yeah. Those words aren't by me, but I don't know the author. You can look it up. But you should validate people's feelings when they come to you with them. Okay? However, sometimes people try to manipulate you by knowing that you are someone who validates people's feelings. Let's say you are talking about a really great day that you had with your partner, your romantic partner. You come home, you say, you know, my boss gave me this great feedback, and he told me that I'm getting this promotion soon, and I'm getting a raise, and I'm just so happy. What are you expressing? Things that are true to you, things that are about you. If your partner comes to you and says, when you said that, it made me feel like you are saying you are better than me. So they are telling you that they feel that there is a certain fact coming from you, or a certain judgment is coming from you. If you had said, I had a great day today, my boss gave me this great feedback and told me that I'm getting this raise soon. Look at how far ahead in life I am. Look at how much further I am from you. That's different. But when you're only talking about your great day in an attempt to connect with your partner and share great things about your day, where is it that you projected that fact that they are telling you, you projected onto them, that says, you made me feel judged, or you made me feel like I wasn't. So sometimes people will manipulate you to stop sharing your good news, or to stop feeling good about the good things that happen in your life, because they are feeling insecure about themselves. So that's why I say that quote, when someone tells you you hurt them, you don't have the right to say you didn't. When you are sharing something about yourself, how on earth is that hurting someone? Tell me. Is there anything about myself that I could share? A truth, a fact, a feeling about myself that doesn't involve you, where I don't mention you in any way, where I don't compare myself to you in any way.
It shouldn't.
Can it hurt you?
Someone feels extremely insecure.
There you go. So is my intention to hurt that person? No. Did I say anything that shows that I want to hurt them in any way? No. So again, I can say when someone tells you you hurt them, you don't have the right to say that you didn't. I also say, be careful when people try to manipulate you with that belief, with that way of thinking. Always go back to your intention. If there is a slight part of you that knows that maybe something that you said, maybe you made a backhanded comment towards them, or maybe you were out with a group of people and you said to your partner, because we were talking about that now, maybe you said to your partner, see, why can't you be like that? Okay, they do have the right to tell you when you said that hurt my feelings.
But not if you're just talking about your situation, yourself, your feelings.
Yes.
That being said, intention, in my opinion, is huge, important, and crucial. But I think it's okay to, as we grow, learn to read the room, get to know the partners or the coworkers, the ones that might feel a bit more insecure, and be careful of how we approach them or treat them. Knowing that they could feel insecure and they could feel hurt. Because even if the intention is clean, the pain can last for a long time. And so if we don't know, we don't know. But once we know, I think it's good for us to adapt a little bit. And there's a story I used to tell when I would give keynotes or conferences to high school students, college students, and university students. And I'd explain that it's this little boy who's with his dad, and the dad wants to teach the boy a lesson. So he says, plant nails on the fence. It's a wooden fence. And he plants all kinds of nails on the fence. And after that, he says to his son, he says, nails are examples of what happens when you hurt someone. It's very painful, and the nail goes into the fence and makes a hole. So even if your intentions were pure and clean and you did not want to hurt the person, what the dad explained to his son was, you sometimes should apologize. And so the dad said, take this hammer out, and now we're going to try to remove the nails one by one. And they did. And once all the nails were out, the dad said, this represents you apologizing. Now the nails are out. And then the son said, yeah, the nails are all out, but how come there are still holes? And he explained that even if you remove the nails, even if you apologize, even if your intention was pure and clean, it still leaves pain behind for some time.
Yes.
Right? And so when we realize that a coworker, a partner, or someone might be insecure or might feel more pain, even if we do not include them in the story, it's about our success, about our victories. I think it's important for us to adapt a bit.
Absolutely.
And absolutely make sure that there's not too many holes in that fence.
Yes.
If we can avoid it.
Yes.
If we can't, we can't. Sometimes we don't know.
Yeah.
But if we can avoid it. And one thing that also helped me with regards to not everybody needs to be okay with you for you to be okay with yourself. At some point, I realized that I can't be someone to everyone. And younger, I would try to please everybody. Like you were sharing before, your panels or your signs, I approve of you, I validate yes or no. You felt you were being judged as if you were in court. I felt the same way. And at some point I thought, you know what? It's impossible for me to be someone to everyone. One, so if our viewers or listeners are taking some takeaways from our conversation, that would be one that greatly impacted how I felt. That realization that I can't be someone to everyone. The second one is that not everyone can be a someone for me. And you don't need many someones. Personally, I just have a few someones in my life. My wife, my kids, a few friends, family members. When I was young, I thought that in order to be someone, you had to have a lot of someones. Eventually, I realized that it's not how many likes, it's not how many shares, it's not how many followers, it's not how many friends. You just really need a few good someones. And so for me to realize that helped me tremendously, because I didn't feel like, hey, I'm not enough, I'm not good, I'm not great. How come I just have a few friends? All you really need are a few good someone.
So here's another tip for developing this very healthy mindset of not everybody needs to be okay with me for me to be okay with myself. Be selective with the someones you allow into your life, because if you want so many people, then you're risking who they are and how good they are and how much value they add to your life. When you were talking about the nails and when they were taken out, there were holes left. In the great words of Taylor Swift, Band-Aids don't fix bullet holes. You say sorry just for show. If you live like that, you live with ghosts.
Wow.
So, yes, it's very important to apologize. Yes, it's very important to distinguish between intent versus impact. Sometimes someone who hurts you will tell you, I didn't intend to hurt you, even though you are feeling that pain. You know, they could lie about you and say, well, I didn't intend to hurt you. Well, too bad, you did. If they go and talk about you behind your back, they'll say, well, I didn't intend to hurt you. Well, you did. You talked about me behind my back. You hurt my feelings. So I believe there is a difference between intention and impact. But I also, because I'm so, and this is huge for someone like me to say, because you know me, I don't like to hurt people. I don't like to see the bad in them, even when it exists and they show it to me. I make excuses for people. But I want people like me to know sometimes people do intend to manipulate you by weaponizing your empathy against you. They know that all they need to do is tell you that thing you said hurt my feelings so that you can stop doing that thing or stop saying that thing. But what if that thing is just you being yourself? Just you expressing your needs, just you expressing your feelings, saying, hey, that thing you did made me feel like I wasn't considered. And then they come back to you and they say, when you told me that you felt like I don't consider you, that hurt my feelings because you made me feel like I wasn't good enough. Well, now they took away from the way you're feeling. They made it about them. So just be cautious when those around you are trying to manipulate you. Trust yourself if you believe that that is what they are trying to do. And, you know, I know this is extreme, but for people who've dealt with narcissists and those who like to gaslight or those who like to negate your feelings or belittle your feelings, they know what I'm talking about when I say don't let people weaponize your empathy against you. If it is a constant battle of every time you say something, you're just existing, being yourself. You're not saying anything that has to do with them, or you're expressing a genuine concern or a genuine need, and they turn it around to say, you expressing your need or your want or your hurt or your pain or talking about yourself in a great way that truly describes you makes me feel this way, it hurts my feelings. They might be manipulating you. It's okay for you to say, my job isn't to convince you that I'm a good person. My job isn't to convince you that when I say good things about myself, I'm not trying to brag or tell you that I'm better than you. It's not my job to convince you of that. If you've made up your mind that I am someone who's not a good person and who just talks about myself and who is selfish, you've made that opinion on your own. I know it's not true. And I know that I'm the kind of person who, if I hurt you in any way or make a comment that could slightly hurt you in any way, I would apologize. I know I'm that kind of person. But if I feel like every single thing that I do is looked at by you as not real and true to me, but it's a show that I'm putting on, then you are trying to project your worldview that's very cynical, that doesn't believe that people can be real and good and kind. You're allowing that belief to be spilled on me, and I don't allow that. I once had a dad who booked a session for his young daughter with me, and at the very end of the session, she said to me, I will not allow the world to paint me with their own paintbrushes.
Wow.
I will paint myself.
Wow.
And it brought me back to a poem that I had written years and years and years ago, where I said something like, you can paint me with whatever paintbrush you like, I will still remain in my own colors. And I hope that every person listening can remember that sometimes when people are trying to change you, when they try to challenge who you really are at your core, what they're really doing is saying, I don't like who you are. Let me change you. Let me paint you with a different color. You're good. I'm going to turn your kindness into a show because you are being so self-righteous and you're trying to prove that you're better than everybody else. Well, I'm going to come back to my real color. I'm a good person. You can believe that about me. I don't need to change the paintbrush or the color or you. All I need to do is say, I know what my color is. So
I love it.
Thank you.
Dr. Z is in the house. Dr. Xavier. Wow. Don't let people weaponize your empathy against you. That's awesome.
People will weaponize your empathy against you. And sometimes people will weaponize their pain and your empathy against you. Let me explain. Sometimes a person who's gone through so much pain in their life, let's say they have severe childhood trauma, like their parents never treated them properly. They were neglected. They were always criticized. They were always just spoken to in a very negative way. And that's a huge pain that they carry. One that they refuse to heal. One that they refuse to go back and deal with.
Consciously or?
Consciously. So many people don't believe in therapy. Why would I go to therapy? Even though they know they had a very tough life up to this point. They say, what's therapy going to do? You know, everybody goes through hard times. Okay. That's okay if you believe that. But if you're going to take the pain of your past, if your parents criticized you, you're going to criticize your partner. You're going to criticize your colleagues. You're going to criticize the people who work under you. You're going to criticize those that you care about because what your parents gave you should have been love. You received that love as criticism. So you might even think that that's a way to love. You see it with relationships all the time where one partner is constantly joking by criticizing their partner in front of others. And they say, well, the more they criticize you, the more they love you. Like, that's the way they love you. That's their love language. No, it's not. Because is that how you receive love? Maybe you are very sensitive to criticism, also because you were criticized when you were younger. So you are not receiving that as love. You're receiving it as, this person hates me. So anyway, going back to that, if your parents criticize you, you're going to criticize the people around you. If your parents neglected you, you're going to neglect the people around you. You're going to repeat the patterns of your past and spill them onto others. There's a really powerful quote that says, if you don't heal what hurt you, you will bleed on people who didn't cut you. That's so powerful. True.
Yeah.
So when I was saying sometimes people will weaponize their pain and your empathy against you, I'm saying that sometimes people who choose to not heal their wounds will put the responsibility on you to cater to them so that they don't have to deal with those wounds. So you tiptoe around that pain so that they don't have to deal with that. But what that might mean is that you are going to be 10% of yourself, because the minute you go above the 10%, they're like, my danger alarms are going off, stop. My wounds are being triggered. So you are paying a price when you are constantly tiptoeing around the pains and wounds that you didn't cause. They were dealing with them. So, or they went through them. It is their responsibility to heal themselves. It is not your responsibility to prepare someone to be with you at your level of wanting to heal, at your level of awareness of, you know, past traumas and present traumas and what triggers are and love languages and communication languages, if we're talking about other aspects of life, it's not your job to do that. Similarly, if you have a boss, for example, who you know for a fact is very old school, they adopt old ways of managing and leading, it's not your job to tiptoe around their feelings. And you have to be able to advocate for yourself, and you have to be able to effect some kind of change that makes that environment livable and workable for you. So
or change the environment.
Or change the environment altogether. Again, but you don't have to tiptoe around that and just be 10% of yourself so that person doesn't have to deal with whatever it was that led them to believe the only way to lead is to be a boss and to make decisions on my own and people have to follow. So I think we've come to a point in our episode where we should tell each other the two most important or powerful lessons we learned from each other. I can start. The first one is the OPO syndrome, other people's opinions syndrome, because I was like, wow, if I ask myself if I have that syndrome, I definitely did in the past. Now I think I get like waves of it here and there, but I can fully say it is just something that comes to my life here and there. So now it's more of like a once in a while, kind of like a cold that I get once a year. So I think it's very important for people who are listening to ask themselves, do you have OPO syndrome? The other really powerful thing that you said was sometimes people pleasing actually holds you back. Like it does the opposite of what you think it's doing. Sometimes people respect you more when you assert yourself, when they know that you're not doing what you do just to please them or to get their acceptance, because they know that you are being genuine, that what you're saying is adding value to them, to the workplace, to whatever environment it is. Yeah.
So daring being authentic is worth it.
Yes.
Absolutely. Some of what really hit home for me, a number of them, but the first one, can you please just repeat that sentence about
people hurting you?
Yes, yes.
When people tell you that you hurt them, you don't have the right to say that you didn't.
That's powerful. Because often I've hurt people in the past. And for whatever reason, I thought that because my intention was clean, or because it wasn't intentional to hurt them, or because I thought maybe, no, I did not make a mistake. It's not okay. If they felt the hurt, the hole is still in the fence, whether it was intentional or not. And to know that you can't say, hey, I didn't hurt you, that's not a good thing. I wish I would have known that younger, but now I do.
Now you know.
The second thing that I find is so powerful is don't let people weaponize your empathy against you. Manipulation is a thing. Most people, I believe, have great intentions and don't want to hurt you. But unfortunately, we live in the world where some folks don't have the best intentions all the time. So it's important for us to be aware of who's who, reading the room, but that, not letting people weaponize what's good about us against us, that is very, very powerful.
Yes. Thank you for sharing those things with me. And I honestly didn't even plan to say any of that. It just came out. So I think this was a really powerful episode. Thank you for listening to this episode of In the Clear. I hope that you can subscribe to us on all podcast streaming platforms, wherever you listen, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play. You can also watch us on YouTube. And please leave us some feedback. Follow us on all social media platforms at In the Clear Podcast. I can't wait for the next episode. Until then, have a wonderful day.